Hello, and I would like to welcome everybody to today's webinar titled Drive Employee Satisfaction with Simplified Solutions and Training that Lasts. Before we get started today, I'd like to walk through a few housekeeping notes. As a reminder, all attendees' microphones have been muted to help keep us running smoothly and on time. Attendees' cameras have been disabled to help ensure a great quality during today's webinar. And lastly, I would like to encourage everyone to leverage the Q&A feature within Microsoft Teams to ask any questions throughout today's webinar, which we will answer at the end of today's event. With that, I would like to introduce you to our experts that will be presenting today. First, we have Azure Wolf. She is our Senior Technical Account Specialist with Ecolab Global Institutional. Azure is responsible for providing technical support across Ecolab's global hospitality and food service customers. She has worked in the research and development space to develop innovative solutions and partner with customers to achieve the desired outcomes during her 4 years with Ecolab. Azure holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Minnesota, Duluth. Greg is a content manager for EcoSure, which is a division of Ecolab. He is responsible for designing learning, performance, and behavior change strategies that help organizations develop their people and strengthen leadership capability and improve frontline performance. Greg has over a decade of experience developing learning solutions for global hospitality, food service, and retail organizations, specializing in behavior change, workforce development, and performance improvement. Prior to this, he worked in hospitality and education. And Greg holds a Bachelor of Journalism degree from Rhodes University in South Africa. Now, here's a look at the topics we will cover during today's webinar. We will start with looking at the impact of employee satisfaction. Then we will walk through how simplified solutions can make the job easier. And then we will go into training and how that can also assist with employee satisfaction. Finally, we will close out today's webinar with Q&A. So if you're attending today's webinar, hopefully employee satisfaction is already a priority for you. But why does it matter? What's the impact? Well, if you're working in the hotel industry, it's likely you are already all too familiar with the challenges that we are faced with today. While staffing has improved significantly, even since 2024, when 46% of hotels reported being short-staffed, nearly half of hotels still face staffing shortages, according to an AHLA State of the Industry report from 2025. The scarcity of labor, along with increases in the cost of living, competition from other industries, and local wage legislation, has led hospitality wages to increase 40% since 2019. The wage rate increase has been partially offset by hotels finding ways to operate with fewer employees, so total labor costs have increased 15.3%. This is still significantly higher than the average operating revenue growth of 12.8% over the same period, and creating even more pressure to reduce costs. And although staffing levels may be lower, guest expectations continue to remain high. This makes it critical to find ways to operate more efficiently while also reducing turnover, which not only interrupts operations, but also creates additional costs. Additionally, we know that satisfied employees help to deliver better results. Housekeeping can directly impact guest satisfaction, bookings, and revenue, as cleanliness is consistently one of the top factors guests consider when choosing a hotel and a significant driver of reviews. In addition to the impact of reviews, housekeeper satisfaction and cleanliness have significant impacts to your business's performance. When it comes to your top line, we know that guest satisfaction is number one. Studies have shown a 1 point improvement in guest satisfaction scores correlates with a 1.42% increase in RevPAR. The American Hotel and Lodging Association has found that 4 of the top 10 priorities for guest satisfaction are directly tied to housekeeping staff's ability to efficiently and effectively clean rooms. When it comes to your bottom line, it's all about driving efficiency. Labor makes up 91% of your total housekeeping budget costs, so training and retention can help minimize these costs. And when we look at the impact of cleaning more holistically, avoiding comped rooms or reclaims and improving guest satisfaction can add up quickly. So today, we're going to provide you with some solutions, tips, and tricks you can start leveraging today to help create a positive employee experience to help drive engagement, retention, and your overall business performance. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Azure to talk to us a little bit about simplified solutions and how they can make the job easier for your employees. Azure?
Thank you, Melissa. Now that we've heard about the importance of clean and how that relates to labor and employee satisfaction, I'm going to walk through how you and your vendor partner should approach the goal of simplification to support employee satisfaction. Let's start by looking at the 5 factors of cleaning, which provides us a really useful tactical framework for simplification. The 5 factors of clean include time, temperature, mechanical action, chemical action, and overall procedures. These 5 variables interact, and if you reduce one, you generally have to increase another to hold that same end result. The relationship here is the key point. For example, if the chemical action is stronger or the contact time is longer, that then means the mechanical action required goes down. And that mechanical action is the factor that translates directly into that physical labor for your team. Dwell time is another one worth calling out specifically. Disinfectants require a defined contact time to achieve their claim. And a shorter validated dwell time means the procedure that can then be completed correctly within the time available, rather than a step being shortened in practice. You should consider leveraging a partner who can help you improve the time needed to disinfect, who can help select the right chemistry that can help minimize mechanical action and overall simplify your cleaning procedures. Ultimately, you want a vendor partner that can help you run a more efficient operation. There are 3 key elements that make a complete housekeeping program. They're the right products and tools, proper procedures, and continuous training. Right products and tools address capability. This is whether the equipment on the cart is able to achieve the required result within the time allotted. Proper procedures addresses consistency. So this is what defines what the task is and to what standard. And then continuous training addresses execution. This is how the procedure is transferred to the employee and reinforced over time, particularly as staff turns over. A gap in any one of these can show up as variability in the end result. When it comes to choosing the right products, the way that Ecolab approaches this is through our 2+1 Simplified Housekeeping program, which helps drive compliance and employee satisfaction. The first 2 pieces to this are a multi-surface cleaner and disinfectant and a bathroom cleaner and disinfectant. Together, these 2 cover the majority of the hard surface cleaning and disinfection in a room or a public space. The plus one is the odor management piece, which is handled separately because this is a different function. Cleaning removes soil, disinfection removes pathogens, and freshening addresses the air and soft surfaces. A 3-product core program is key to simplifying your operations, as it can be taught and verified far more quickly than a 10-product set, which matters in operations with high turnover, seasonal staffing, or multilingual teams. Here's an example of how a 2+1 program would work. In the guest rooms, the multi-surface disinfectant cleaner covers this vanities, glass, mirrors, bathroom floors, all high touch point objects. The bathroom cleaner, or disinfectant, covers the showers, tubs, toilets, anywhere where the soil load and mineral scale are heavier, particularly in the bathroom. And then we recommend the odor care product be sprayed in the corner of the room, which is typically about 3 to 4 sprays as the housekeeper is leaving the room. While the simplified 2+1 program should work on most rooms, we know that there are times when specialty products are needed. Therefore, it is key that you partner with a vendor that can help with both products and procedures for those specialty challenges as well, like smoke and pet odors, mold and mildew, and staining. The second component I'd like to discuss when it comes to employee satisfaction is tools. We know that housekeeping is an inherently manual, labor-intensive process. This includes a lot of bending, reaching, scrubbing. An ergonomically designed tool set, like a telescoping pole for reaching, and interchangeable heads for various surfaces and cleaning challenges, can help reduce the burden on the staff. When your staff has all of the tools they need right at their fingertips, it can help ensure compliance, employee satisfaction, and overall guest satisfaction. The third component is procedures. As discussed earlier, proper procedures address consistency. So this helps define what the task is, in what order, and to what standard so the outcome doesn't vary. It is critical to establish both routine live trainings and e-trainings available as your staff turns over. This helps drive simplification and confidence with your staff, and again, ensure compliance and consistency. It's critical to work with a vendor that can help provide this for you as well with in-person and online trainings. Throughout this section, I've explored how simplifying tasks through smarter solutions, leveraging the right tools, and having clear procedures can help teams work more efficiently and consistently. When employees have fewer complexities to manage and greater confidence in what they're doing, it creates a better day-to-day work experience, which is a key driver for employee satisfaction. But simplification is only part of the equation. In the next section, my colleague from EcoSure's digital training solution, Lobster Inc., will explore how learning experiences that drive behavior change can help employees feel more confident, capable, and engaged, supporting both employee satisfaction and operational performance. Now I'm going to turn it over to Greg.
Thank you, Azure. So we've just seen how simplifying products, tools, procedures can make the work easier. And as Azure said, I'd like to build on that by looking at the learning side of the equation. So training can give people information, right? But information alone does not reliably change what happens during a busy shift. For training to actually improve employee satisfaction and operational performance, it needs to help the right behavior happen consistently in the reality of the workplace. And that's kind of a key that we're going to hold on to in the next couple of minutes, right? And over these few minutes, I'm going to share a simple research-backed framework to help you do this, and 3 practical actions you can begin using on your team on the very next shift. So I'd like to start with your why. Why should you improve training? As we've touched on throughout this, there are 3 massive challenges that hospitality leaders across property of every size deal with. That high turnover, that idea of inconsistent execution, and the effect that this inconsistency ultimately has on the guest experiences. Now, these three challenges are obviously not solved by training alone, but they are all too often pulled out and focused on separately. There is actually a golden thread running through all three. There's a single area you can focus on that can actually affect them all. And that golden thread is knowing when you focus on changing behavior, instead of just the information aspect of training, you actually end up touching on all three of those big challenges. Okay, let's unpack how. Behavior change starts with a pretty simple formula. It seems complex now, but believe me, it is. This idea comes from a behavioral science expert that I love at Stanford University, and I've seen it be very effective in many, many situations, right? Anything from training to, encouraging yourself to remember to floss. The three things that you need to put together to deliver this behavior change: motivation, ability, and a prompt. So the motivation, right? Do people see a reason to act? The ability, can they perform this action confidently and easily? And the prompt, is there something prompting them to act at the right moment in the right way? And so if you're seeing that your teams aren't doing things in the right way or haven't properly absorbed or learned a new routine, it's very likely that one of those three elements may be missing. So let's look at one practical action for each of them. We're going to start with motivation. We often think of motivation, the first thing that comes to mind, right, is incentives or consequences, or explaining why a task matters. Now, all of those have a place, particularly that why, right? But there's a lesser used motivational tool that can be, it's incredibly effective. And that is simply acknowledging progress, making it visible and celebrating it. It's such a powerful idea, particularly in demanding frontline roles where people can so easily feel stuck. Our brains light up on receiving recognition, on genuinely seeing progress towards a goal or towards personal growth, right? And so knowing that, a simple action for you tomorrow is to add a learning celebration to daily huddles. So before beginning with statistics or yesterday's challenges, recognize one person or more who completed a learning step or demonstrated the behavior that you'd like others to adopt, right? And this doesn't need to be an award, right? It can just be naming someone, giving a specific example, and spending a few seconds on recognition. This has this effect of making progress visible and showing the broader team what good practice looks like. So now, with that engagement, you've got people, you've got them hooked. Now, what do you do with that? You give them ability. Now, this ability isn't just about providing information. Again, there's that risk of just mixing these two up, right? Ability is about how easy it is for the employee to absorb and use that information. Those are two key words. If the training is too long, too dense, complex, or sometimes even just a little bit too difficult to access, it creates a friction, meaning they're less likely to do that training and less likely to gain that ability. So there are two practical ways to reduce this. One, make learning smaller, teeny tiny, as small as you can. Focus each learning moment on one clear action or outcome. The employee, the learner, whoever's on the receiving end there, should be able to say, after this, I know how to do this one thing. And just that one thing. There's a lot of research that says it makes it some 87% more likely to be remembered, just this fact of focusing down small. Your second is moving closer to the moment of need. So what I mean by that is, as adult learners, we are proven to be much more likely to pay attention to something and learn from it if we're facing an immediate need to use it. And even more, if we learn and then immediately do, we're even more likely to remember that. So here, your practical action from tomorrow is simple. Make any learning that you share as small and focused as possible, and try and put that learning itself or reminders as close to the work as possible. This could be a short mobile lesson via QR code, if that's something that's available. It could be a visual guide on the cart, something to quickly reference, or even a little refresher spoken immediately before a task happens. Okay, so now we've delivered on the ability to do something. The final piece. This final element is the idea of prompt. Now, we know that someone may understand why the action matters and know exactly how to perform it, but there will still be a gap. This behavior can still disappear, particularly in the space of a shift, right? So this idea of a prompt is the critical piece that closes the gap between knowing and actually doing. And again, there are many, many things that can be this prompt to action. To do this thing that you want in the right way, as has been learned. One effective technique that I really, really like, and just because it's so simple and so powerful, and again, used in many, many places in society, not just in learning, is an if-then statement. It's so much stronger than just saying, I will do this new thing. That's a vague commitment that's really easy to forget about or ignore, whether purposefully or accidentally, right? Rather, give them this if-then. Help your team attach or stack new habits or behaviors on top of old ones they're already doing. So either old behaviors, or it could even be actions that will inevitably happen during the flow of their day. So examples, you can make it tactile. Those are really powerful. You can make it something you see, hear, smell, and touch, right? So imagine a simple statement that says, when I touch any towel in the room, I will check all the towels for loose threads. That's powerful because then you're activating the senses. Or another one, stacking on the existing habits as an example. When I check my daily schedule, I will make sure that I have enough clean linen for those rooms that need to be changed. That's your existing behavior and your desired behavior on top of that. Now, there's an even more powerful part to this, and that's your action for tomorrow, right? It's not up to you to build these if-then statements. Take it to the team, add it to your stand-ups as well, and bring that conversation up and say, well, here's this thing that we're not hitting the mark on. How can we add it to our existing routines, our existing tasks, and get their input? Because if they identify this cue or this prompt themselves, it's much more likely to feel practical and actually work rather than this feeling of being imposed, right? And it loops back to that motivation point, right? When you're selecting someone and you're saying, yes, that's a great idea, you're again adding to that motivational piece, that extra little boost to keep being awesome. So we can see that when it's those three behavior change elements that work together, that we get what I mentioned at the beginning, right? Training becomes more than information. It helps the right behavior happen consistently in the reality of the workplace. It feels like, all right, I'm celebrated for doing the right thing or learning, or I can just see your goal. I engage with it better. Now I have this motivation. If the learning's easy and practical, I'm more likely to take this new knowledge on board. And then if I'm supported in putting this new knowledge into action, great. I'm empowered to actually change my behavior. And then this is the beauty of it, right? If I'm celebrated for that, I keep engaging, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it becomes this loop of success, which offers real growth over time. And you could even take it a little bit further and stack all of this training into clear learning paths to develop a sequence of skills over time. This bigger picture, if you can actually build that, will even further help your team feel and see that growth. And the beauty is, when I'm growing, I'm more likely to stay. And the longer I stay, and not just stay passively, I stay and I continue in this effective behavior change loop, the more accurate my behavior becomes, and those two stack to deliver that improved guest experience that we're aiming at. And that's how this rethink of learning that I'm proposing can help tackle all three of those major challenges. I think just small actions, really big potential impact there. And just before I wrap up, I just want to quickly rehash those three actions that you can begin using immediately. First, build recognition into your leadership routine. Celebrate that one little behavior or win in the daily huddle. Second, make space for the in-the-moment learning and keep it short, focused, and easy to access. That's absolutely critical and so easily overlooked. And third, connect this new behavior to an existing cue by building these if-then statements along with your team. That's the critical piece. And so if you remember just one idea from this section, let it be this nugget. Training creates value when it makes the right behavior easier to perform, easier to remember, and easier to repeat. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg and Azure. I appreciate all of the great information that you've shared with the attendees today. So just as a reminder, before we go into Q&A, we encourage you to partner with a trusted vendor that provides the three things you see here on the screen. A partner that provides innovative programs, products, tools, and equipment, which Azure walked us through, proper procedures that help improve operational efficiency, and finally, the third piece, training that supports proper usage of those products and tools, employee onboarding, and continuous learning and development. And so with that, what I would like to do is I'd like to move into the Q&A portion of today's webinar. I'm going to take a look here and take a look at some of the questions that are coming in. And I encourage the attendees to continue to put them in the Q&A feature. But one of the questions that we have is, and I'm going to direct this to Greg, is what is meant by bite-sized learning and how could I apply it when I interact and train with my team?
Yeah, it's little snackable pieces, right? That's the easy thing to try and remember. But no, to make it practical, it is about spending a little bit of time to identify what it is that you want to change. What is this behavior, this new action, whatever it is, and then breaking it down as much as possible. So that, as I said, right, you need to be able to explain something or show them a video or give them a document. And by the end of it, they have a very clear view of one thing. I am able to do this one thing. So always focus on that word do, because it's so easy to get stuck in theory, the big ideas and all of that. Just focus really neatly down on the I am able to do this thing after I have heard this information. And that'll be your bite.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question that we have building on training that came in is around the question reads, can you please give an example of how this behavior framework can be applied to a common problem? An example would be finding hair on linen after a room has been turned and cleaned.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just applying the framework, right? So you focus on that problem. I don't know, like I'm a very visual brainstormer, so I'd write it down on sticky notes, but do it whichever way you like. Write that problem down and then ask those three questions, right? Is there a gap in motivation? So that could be, do people perhaps not fully understand why this is important now? You know, like something like a hair on the bed, that's pretty obvious, but it's always important to dig a little bit deeper. Is there a missing why there? Are there other factors that are influencing their motivation to do this task? Is there anything else that might be slowing them down or stopping them and forcing them to prioritize or rush? And that overlaps into the second question, which is the ability. We focused on ability as the learning part of it. So what do I need to be able to do? But don't forget that there are other parts to that ability. It is what I touched on there, right? Do I have the right time? Do I have the right equipment? What are the other pressures in this sphere which are impacting my ability to do this thing, which I know is right? I have the knowledge of how to avoid getting hairs on it, but what is actually stopping me? You really need to pull that apart. And again, dig into it with your team. Those kind of conversations can be incredibly valuable. And it's this kind of honesty that isn't blame, but like, hey, let's solve this together, which again feeds into the motivation and the positive piece. And then the prompt is something that really, really you design with your team in discussion. Hey, when I touch something, what is the last thing somebody does before wrapping up, or identify that perfect moment that gives them an opportunity to jog their memory and say, hey, let me do a final check. Let me go back and check this one thing again, so that that prompt could stay in progress for however long you like it to be there, could become a permanent thing. But really what you're trying to do is keep that, make sure that prompt is active, speak about it perhaps daily. Hey, how's that prompt working? Those kind of supporting questions, so that that check becomes habit. And once you see that check being habit, well, you can then move on to a different focus area, again, focusing on what is the thing, what is my motivation, what is my ability, and what is my prompt to do that. And taking the time with each of these challenges to solve that challenge, actually build it into habit before you move on, which is another easy thing to do. Oh, okay, we've spoken about this when we move on. Don't move on too quickly, would be a key piece of advice.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm super energized by this whole concept of the ability, the motivation, and the prompt. I think that's wonderful. It's a great steps, excuse me. It's a great structure of trying to figure out how to get learning in and improve the processes within the day-to-day actions. So thank you. Um, Looking here, it looks like we have a question for Azure. Azure, one of our attendees writes, I try to stick to a standard simplified program, but some of my housekeepers have strong preferences and I don't want to lose them. Do you have any recommendations for how to get them to accept a housekeeping program that doesn't include their favorite products that maybe they leverage from home?
Yes, that's a really good question. I think there are a few pieces to it. First, I think it's helping them understand the difference between commercial products that Ecolab provides and home products. The stuff that we have and we use at home is great on our soils at home, but those soil levels and types are going to be sometimes drastically different in a hotel room than at home. So the commercial like products are going to help really tackle that soil at that level that they're meant to, that you're going to find in a hotel room. And then the other piece is, I think, understanding why. So if there's a gap in the current program that they have, or if they're seeing a really common challenge in the rooms that they're not able to solve with what they're currently being provided, or they don't know how to use them. I think understanding that why can help, again, bring back the training with the products, how to use them, especially Ecolab products are pretty versatile. So work with the Ecolab rep to help understand all of the use cases and how to use it and help solve their challenges there if there's a gap in what they're using.
Thanks, Azure. Great feedback. I love that. Just a reminder to all the attendees, right? Some of the soils and things that we see in, hotels is very different than our home, and the chemistries that your vendor partners leverage do behave differently, have different contact times, and are meant for those different soils and instances that we maybe see more in a hotel environment than our home environment. So that's a great reminder, and always just giving a product a trial to see that it's helping you improve your efficiency and time in the room is a great reminder as well. So appreciate it. So it looks like that is all the questions that we have for today.